close the door?
Yeah.
In 5 minutes. Let's see. Is it going?
Yep, you're live.
I think we're live. We had some technical difficulties. So I just want to make sure that it's working now. I think it is. I don't see us though.
So the original live is not live. This is a different live feed.
It says that it's live 37 seconds. So
yes, you're live.
We're live right now?
Yes.
Okay.
But anyone who went to your original one isn't.
Okay. Well, hello, beautiful people. We had some technical difficulties, and if you're able to find me live now, I would love for you to say hello in the chat. Todd's going to be moderating the chat, and we'll just are we live?
You're live.
Oh, okay. Because he did a little stress move, and I thought maybe that meant that we weren't live. But if we are live, let's chat. And I right now, oh, there we go. Okay. Oh, okay. So we see Janet. Hi, Janet. Thanks for tuning in. Oh my gosh, we had some technical difficulties. She said hi to Todd. Oh, okay. And I guess that's how it goes, right? Sometimes it works out pretty good, and sometimes you have to back up the truck and start over. Hi, I'm so happy that you're here with us, and hopefully others that were tuning in also find us. Oh, hi, Lori G. So good to have you on here. Yes, you made it, and I could say the same thing. We made it. We had some technical difficulties getting in, but here we are. So I'm just going to set my water down, and I want to just say hello, beautiful people. Thank you all for tuning in. I thought it might be fun and interesting topic to talk about moderation, all in or moderation, and what that means, and some of the experiences that I've had with the word and the meaning. And I just want to say that I do have some companions here that are going to help us talk about moderation. This is our Bentley, our grand puppy, and this is our Remy, our sweet boy. So yes. So I wrote some notes because I was having a lot of different thoughts, and I wanted to be able to remember everything. And so, so when I think about moderation, I personally can remember, he's making all kinds of funky noises. Did you want me to help you scratch? I personally remember growing up and hearing from both my mom and other family members and doctors and on television and magazines. And we even had, billboards back then when I was little, that moderation is good. Let's see. And I'll quote, everything in moderation. Everything in moderation is a good thing. That's what I was told. That's what I heard. And I was thinking about that. What does that mean? Everything in moderation is good, or is best. I heard that too. Everything in moderation is best. So I'm going to take this a couple different ways. First of all, I'm wondering, is it best? Is it good? I kind of question that. What do you guys think? Do you have any recollection of, your life at any point where you've heard that everything is good in moderation? Everything is best in moderation. Moderation makes everything good. Any combination? I would love to hear what your thoughts are. And so I decided to, I'm glancing down at my paper because I just want to make sure that I hit these notes before, before we go into just thoughts and conversation. Although here, Lori says, Lori says, so sweet. I love animals. Yes, we do too. And we celebrated our other grand puppy's birthday yesterday, Penny, but she's not here right now. I can see it. So I grew up with that saying as well. And it did not work for you. Yeah. I almost feel like it was an excuse or permission. And I feel like that because, maybe when was that used? Well, diets were such a big thing. And so if you couldn't sustain the diet, if you failed at the diet, that was never meant to be successful anyways. How would that be? Janet from Plant Powered Peddler says, yes, she heard growing up that saying was in her life, and it didn't work for her too. It's really interesting. I ended up looking up the word. I'm going to pull it up on my phone because I want to read to you. I want to read to you what I found. So I looked up what is an example. Let's see. I looked up moderation topics with food, first of all. And I am reading here on the web, what is an example of moderation regarding food? Because although I think of moderation in other forms, I think that when we talk about moderation, we're talking about it within food. And so I'm going to read what it says. Some healthy food options include dark leafy greens, fish, avocado, whole grains, berries, and extra virgin olive oil. I'm wondering who wrote this, but anyhow, I'll keep reading. Food you can enjoy in moderation includes, and then it's kind of like highlighted this part, red and processed meat, canned or dried fruit, sugary cereals or flavored yogurts, and processed cheese substitutes. So if somebody is confused, that's what they could possibly read on the web. That's going to probably keep beeping. So anyways, I see Mona. Hi, Mona. Thank you so much for tuning in. And then I looked at another one because I wanted to see what else it says. And so it said, eating in moderation can include anything from scaling back portion sizes, pushing away your plate when you're feeling full, limiting sweets, adding more nutritional varieties to your meal, calculating caloric intake, or any combination of these. I mean, this is the message that's being put out there. And then the last one that I looked up, which is still the same topic, it said tips for eating in moderation. And it's highlighted, limit your portion size. Choose a smaller plate or bowl. Avoid eating foods from packages. Place on a serving dish to be mindful of how much you're eating. Eat the recommended serving size found on the nutrition fact label. And that was from May 16th, 2022. I just had to share that because I think there's a lot of mixed messages, and I'm trying to figure out what's best now and what's the good message going forward, and how do I feel about these things, and how do you guys feel about what I just shared? It goes with what's going on, right? This society is giving us a message through billboards and advertisements for things that aren't really going to help us be successful. And moderation, I feel, going back to what I had said earlier, is kind of an excuse. It's our path, right? To do the things that aren't going to be helpful for us. I really feel that way. And so in the past, as a a teen, an influential teen, wanting to look a certain way that I thought was the way I was supposed to look and be mindful of my weight and all of those things, when I wasn't successful at it because it wasn't sustainable, not eating enough, only eating salads, fat-free dressings, or so on. It I was met with, well, it's okay not to be successful. I mean, I didn't hear those words, but that's what I understood them to be. It's okay as long as you do things in moderation, you're going to be good. I mean, what do you think about that? I'm seeing if anybody's saying anything about that. A lot of people saying hello, and so I'm glad. So I'm just going to go back here to my paper. And and that's another thing. Yeah. So when I originally thought of moderation as a word, I was thinking of it. I didn't really think of it in terms of food. And Todd and I had this conversation about, setting this live up, and he was saying he heard it as food, and I just heard it as anything. Like, moderation, can't that be applied to studying, to exercise, to eating, to anything that is like watching TV, watching movies, just not not in a small amount. I mean, can't it be applied to those things? So that's what my thought was. And so, I know you're behind the scenes. I always like to invite Todd to come in. He doesn't usually start coming in, and the dogs are here and everything, but I would really like to ask you to share your thoughts on moderation. I know we have the all in, we haven't gone there yet. And I also see a comment from Lori G. You are right. It seems to be applied to more than just food. Yeah. I mean, that was my take on it. And do you think that moderation is like a pass or an excuse or a reason for us to get permission? That's what I was trying to think of. Get permission to be okay with a little bit of X, a little bit of Y, a little bit of processed food, or whatever it is, a little bit of dessert. Even if it's vegan, even if it's whole foods, if you know your body, if you are here and you've learned how whole food plant-based eating can help benefit you, there are things that individuals have to tweak, right? Because we're all on a different journey. Some of us are healing, some of us want weight loss, some of us are trying to build muscles, whatever it is. So I just look at it as other things, and I kind of feel like it's a get out of jail free card, like on the Monopoly game, so you can, not wallow in your container of ice cream. But I think it's a really mixed message, and I think it's really important that people understand. Is there a hidden agenda? I mean, who told the family members that told me about that? Who influenced them, or the marketers, or people, the advertisers, or the corporations, or who's sending this message, and what exactly is it supposed to be saying to us? I don't know. Let me see. Yeah, Lori G says, yes, I feel like it is permission to cheat in a way. And right? I mean, I sometimes listen to different people on YouTube, all kinds of whole food plant-based community speakers and interviews and doctors and things. And when they share maybe what they're not doing, or their slips, or whatever in terms of food, I almost feel like that for me is interpreted, oh, well, okay, well, if it's okay for them because they're the leaders, then maybe it's okay for me. Now, I don't say that. I say that internally. I hear myself internally. It's almost like I'm giving myself permission for a future time. And I kind of feel like that pulls into the moderation definition. It's so interesting. Oh my gosh. Um, so we started to say, Todd, do you either want to get a mic, or are you okay to come into the camera and just talk a little bit about what it meant to you when I brought this subject up? Do you want to kind of come in? We can move the pillows.
If there's room for me between a dog.
Yes, of course. Here, we'll move a pillow. You can sit with, Bentley would like you to sit with him, I
Okay,
think.
come here, Bentley. Here,
And I have
Bentley,
the phone right there. Oh my gosh, see?
This is-
He might want you to invite him.
Come here.
Come on, Bentley.
Come on, buddy. There.
Yeah, so, and I'm just going to try to look here again. So when I said to you about a topic, and you talked about what we would write in our little pin or whatever you call it.
Mm-hmm.
What was your understanding, or how did you bring that word moderation into like your understanding?
Yeah, so that's it's a good question. And when you first thought of this topic, given the context of what you speak to people about, food was a natural thing, right? But in hearing the first part of this, everything in moderation, I agree that that it is kind of this license to not go all the way on something, right? So, exercise in moderation means don't exercise too hard, but as long as you're doing a little, you're fine, kind of thing. And I think it's important for this conversation to define what we mean when we talk about moderation. Are we talking about the more permanent, just go this far, but not all the way kind of thing, right? Or are we talking about moderation as an evolutionary process, right? So I'm transitioning to get to 100%, but right now I'm at 70 or 80 or 50 or 10 or wherever I may be. So I'm moderating here, but I will eventually go to here and then go to here and then, on my travel or on my journey to 100%. So I think we just need to determine what definition are we using for moderation.
Okay, so when you say we, who are you talking to?
We.
Oh, we.
Mostly you.
Okay, because it could have been advertisers, or I was just trying to figure out if there's a different we that you were talking about.
So I think the world outside has their definition, and that I think largely depends on who you are and how you're using the term. But I think the language that you talked about, everything in moderation, was more of that permanent state, right? That is, I'm only going to go this far because I don't want to go the whole way, and everything in moderation, right? So
yeah, so I just want to take a minute. I checked the chat twice, and I see Gina is here, and she says, hi, Jennifer and Todd. Hi, Gina. I'm so glad you're here to join us. And, we've just been talking about moderation and how, what that word means. I read some definitions online that was really interesting. I thought that relates to messages. And anyways, if you weren't here to hear that, you might want to watch the replay. But okay, so let's see. You were just talking about, you were agreeing with me that you think that moderation can be a permission to not go all the way in on something.
I think when we're talking about moderation in the frame of everything in moderation, right? What we've all become so familiar in hearing, that yes, I think that is permission to not do something 100%.
Yeah. Okay. So that's so we're in agreement with that.
Yes.
And I think that it's really important that people, share what's going on with them. Like if somebody is not, if somebody's not being successful, or they're not doing, or they're making a change, and they share it, I think that's really great because then they're sharing their experience. But I also feel like it can affect us in the way that we think about things. And I think it can also pull in that old thinking of, and I'm going to call it old thinking because I heard that way, way back when about moderation. So, like I had mentioned earlier, I originally didn't think it was just about food. Exercise, movie watching, studying, anything that we do can be overdone. But when I looked it up on the web, like I said earlier, just as a quick recap, there was so much about food and how it is telling you to watch your portions and not to eat so much and all of that.
Well, and so I think, and you said this just now, I think there's a difference between doing something 100% and
Why do we have a thumbs up right there? Did you see that? No, not that one.
Oh.
Okay, I'm sorry. Go.
I think because I did this and it's like a gesture thing
Oh,
that I
okay.
haven't turned off.
Oh, okay.
So I think there's a difference between doing something 100% and overdoing something.
And you think doing something 100% and overdoing something has something to do with the word moderation or its definition?
No, but I think so. Moderation is still moderation by definition, right? So it's not doing something 100% or not overdoing something. But I think there's a difference between I'm going to be all in. I'm going to do this thing 100%. I'm going to give it all my effort, energy, time, etc. Versus overdoing it, right? Which I'm going to use food, right? So eating beyond the point where you're full and you're now just eating and eating just to eat. That's overdoing. So I just wanted to touch. I just wanted to. You said that overdoing something, and it just sparked that thought that overdoing is different than doing 100%. That's doing something 110, 20, 30%.
Well, I think that kind of segues into all in. So, all in or moderation. So, we talked a lot about, some different topics on moderation and how I feel like society has influenced us. Oh, you got to, and I don't know why that's doing that. If you guys could see, we're seeing some interesting things on the screen that we are not doing. Okay, so I'm getting distracted here, but I just want to. Oh, you just did. You tried to say. Okay, so
Yeah.
hopefully that will go away.
We'll get no more fingers.
So when I talk
or
about
thumbs.
when I talk about all in, or when I think about all in, I wrote down. I'm thinking about, first of all, what if all in means there's no room for error to somebody, and let me just back that up with sofas free, gluten free, whole food plant based, or whatever it is that you are trying to go all in on. If you don't do it 100% all of the time, forever, indefinitely, is that give you permission to do the let me just look here, the everything in moderation, which could be adding in some of those things, allowing, even if you're seeing it and you're aware of it, a lack of success in your own mind. What do you think? Does anybody have any comments or input? I would love to have a little more interaction with you guys, because, my thoughts aren't always the right thoughts. They're just what my thoughts are. And
while you're typing all of your wonderful comments and questions, I think there's a difference between being all in and being perfect.
Ooh, I like that. Yeah.
I can be all in on something, but I might not be perfect at it. I might cheat a little, or I might, flub or fumble or whatever you want to call it. Doesn't mean my my commitment has changed.
Yeah, let me see. Mona says one, because
Go ahead.
I have so many thoughts and I'm going to lose them all. Mona says, for me, being all in and not deviating sets me up to go off board. Oh, moderation doesn't work for me either. Right. Okay. Yeah. Thank you for sharing that. It's so interesting. And so I just want to put this out there. Does that mean that if you hear, because this is how I feel, if you hear somebody else talk about them, oh, you got them, if you hear, I'm sorry, I'm getting my train of thought messed up here because I'm being distracted. If you hear somebody saying all in or nothing, and then I didn't stay all in or nothing, does that influence you? Is that like allowing you to feel like it's okay for you to deviate, for you to fall off? Because if I surround myself with everything that is going the direction that I want it to in food, I'm going to use food as an example. That is like my tribe. That is like my back, my security, my influence, my partner, right? And if any of that is disrupted with well, I deviated, I fell off, I, didn't do what I sought out, what we are all doing. I hear myself say, oh, well, if that person can do it that way, then it's okay for me. Even if I don't want to believe that, I can think it for a minute. And our thoughts are so strong and influential on what we do, what we believe. And so I'm wondering, I kind of want to ask that to all of you, but anyways, let's see. I'm just going to look. Mona said, yes, Todd hit that one. I wonder, now I was so chatty. I wonder what she was exactly
I think that
talking
was
about.
You can be all in and not be perfect.
Okay. Yeah. And I keep going back to moderation because I'm wondering if, I'm unclear on what that means because I feel like it means so many things. And then when we kind of segued it into all in, all in. What does all in mean?
For me, I think all in means that I'm committed, right? And that's what I was trying to get to earlier is my level of commitment, my desire to do something and be all in on that may not be necessarily 100% reflected in what happens, right? So I may fail a couple times, or I may stumble, or I may just do something else, whatever that is.
So do you call that moderation then? Because does that give
No,
you permission?
I don't think it. No, because moderation is deliberate. That is, I'm deliberately not going to do something 100%.
And so, oh, really?
I'm only going to do this in moderation, which means I'm not going to do it fully.
And so I see moderation as being a permission to do something that I didn't set out to do.
You feel like it's permission to make mistake?
No.
Or fail?
No, not
to do something different than what you committed to.
So if I were going to make up an example that's not true, but just as an example, and you might want to read the chat here in a second. If I were going to make up an example, I could say, I'm giving up, I'm not going to have bread. Oh my gosh, what a topic. I'm not going to have bread. I'm gluten-free, even gluten-free bread. I'm just going to say, this is an example. I'm not going to have bread. And then, well, now I have permission, even if it's my own permission, because I'm not. So when I say I'm not going to have bread, that's all in, right? I'm not going to have bread. I'm all in. I'm not going to have bread.
When you make that statement,
yes.
Yes.
Then, for whatever reason, I am having a hard time doing that, can I then pivot and change my mind and say, I'm going to just have bread in moderation? And it's okay because I've been told that moderation is okay. You know, do you want to answer that, or should we look in the chat?
Well, you look at the chat and read through the
Okay,
chat,
okay.
and I'll say that I think that changes, right? So you started as all in. It became too difficult, so now you're using moderation as an excuse to not be all in, right? And I'm not saying moderation is bad. I'm just saying it's different than being all in.
I think that's interesting that you said you're not saying moderation is all bad, but the word bad is attached to it, which is interesting. Let's read this for a minute. Okay, so Lori G says, when I went all in, I lost weight and then I felt so much better. Mona says all in means 100% to me. Okay. And I think I skipped that one. So Lori G also said, this way of eating didn't work for me until one day I decided to go all in. Interesting. Mona says, moderation is partaking of all things good and bad. Moderation. Yes, exactly. That's why I think it's part of the whole setup for us to fail. But I also believe that it could be permission. You know, like when you fall down as a kid and you get hurt, maybe you were soothed by a popsicle or some kind of treat. I feel like that's the same kind of thing. Does that make any sense? Or am I going off on a weird tangent? No, it doesn't make sense. You're looking like, I don't know what you're talking about.
Okay. It's fine.
Gina says, are we talking about all in or nothing thinking, or what works for each of us individually? I was late, sorry. If we're talking about me, Gina, I can't do moderation, but others can, and that's okay with me. Good old Chef AJ, do the least restrictive diet to get the results you want. Yes. And so originally I was just trying to touch on what moderation means, because originally I thought that it didn't necessarily have to be just about food. And Todd was thinking that it was related to food because that's what the channel is. And then I was looking up what is moderation on the web. And so I shared that earlier. And as far as, oh gosh, Bentley wants me to throw his baby. There you go. So I have to do that for him. Moderation doesn't work for Gina. And so I think it goes back to, what does moderation mean to you?
And I think in what context, right? So moderation, here's an example, right? So moderation in eating is different than moderation in something else, right? My car is capable of going 140 miles an hour if I put my foot to the floor. I don't do that, right? So I'm moderating my speed to be something different than all in that case, right? So I think in some contexts, moderation is good or necessary or legal. And in others, when you're talking about, food, diet, nutrition, that kind of stuff, moderation might have a different meaning or a different impact.
But I think that's an opinion.
Okay.
I think that's an opinion. And I think I think that goes back to the whole, is moderation actually a get out of jail free card? Is it the excuse? Is it the permission? I just keep going back to that because it's the way we think about things, isn't it? And I smiled when you talked about your example of putting your foot on the gas pedal and you choose not to, because Todd really does enjoy a little bit of heavy on the foot.
Not a little bit of heavy.
Oh my gosh. So I was just looking to see if anyone had any other thoughts to share about that. And
no, but what I was saying is moderation when you're talking about food, and the comments like from Gina, about moderation doesn't work for her and some of the others.
Mona
when we're talking about food, right? That moderation may not work for you in that case. But I think, how you apply moderation to different contexts of your life, like driving, hopefully moderation works for you. Otherwise, you're driving 140 miles an hour on city streets, right? But moderation in food is good or better.
I don't know that there's an answer for what's best, moderation or all in. But I think that having an awareness and an understanding about the old thinking, the old messages that we might be carrying around regarding them, and how people may or may not influence those thoughts when we hear what other people are going through is important to take note and to just be more aware and even be curious about it and poke at it and ask yourself the questions, why when I heard that, do I think, this is okay for me in the future? Or, like for me, I mean, I have, like we all do, right? We all have emotions. And so if I'm having a rough time, and normally I would go to the cabinet and I would get, some, calorie dense, something that I normally wouldn't have because, our house is not, just the foods that I would choose.
Although it's getting closer to that.
Yay. But, so maybe it would allow me to take a pause, take a breath, and think about what is happening here. Is this an influence or a trigger from something I heard, from a feeling that I'm having? How is this going to help me stay on course or continue to go the direction that I'm seeking? All those kinds of things.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. You're looking at me like I should respond to that.
Yeah. So does anyone have any thoughts about that? And do you have an opinion about if one of those is right or not, all in or moderation? I mean, the whole.
I agree with you. I think all in is a commitment. Moderation is, again, depending on the context, moderation can be an excuse to not try as hard, or to fail, or to underperform, or whatever the vernacular is that you want to apply to that.
But I also think with all in, you have to have a plan. You have to have a direction. You have to understand what it is you're going all in and how do you get there and how do you stay there, because somebody could just say, like I have a friend who was telling me about things that she had heard with somebody that has a strong influence that's not necessarily whole food plant-based, but they were making bold statements about nightshades. Nobody should eat XXXX vegetable. And when she was saying to me, we had a discussion recently, are you familiar with this person? And they said, nobody should have these vegetables. And my response was, like, who is the person? Like, why? Like, what? If somebody is dealing with coronary heart disease, Dr. Esselstyn would say you shouldn't have avocado and nuts. But if somebody doesn't have that, they might be okay to have that in moderation. I got to use the word. And I've heard other doctors like Dr. Goldhammer or Dr. Furman do an ounce of, nuts, walnuts a day or whatever mix that is. I don't think that everything applies to every single person, the same thing. So for somebody to be an influencer, have a strong background and say a blanket statement, these vegetables are bad, is very confusing for the person that I had the discussion with who isn't on the same path as I am and maybe, wanting to learn more and you get these mixed messages. And then isn't that where somebody else could come in and say, everything in moderation. It's okay. Have a little bit of nightshades, right?
Well, okay. So
Am I making sense?
So to be fair, we weren't privy to what was heard, right? So there's what is said and what is heard.
Oh, from the person that I was having the
Correct.
discussion with.
So
Okay.
what was actually said,
And we have some new comments
by that doctor, and what she heard, and then what she expressed to you and what you heard, it's this game of telephone, right? It could be completely different, right? So,
well, it's just based on what I'm sharing, I guess.
The whole conversation around, you shouldn't eat nightshades could have been in the context of, if you've got these 3 conditions, you shouldn't eat nightshades. And yet,
but that's not what she heard.
Exactly.
Yeah, because that's not what she said.
Right.
But at any rate,
we're getting a little off topic.
We are. Let me read.
Rabbit hole.
Let's read this. Okay. Let's see. I'm trying to catch up to see where I were. Gina. Oh, okay. I already had read that. Yes. Moderation doesn't work for her either. Okay. I think I said that. I just look at foods, Lori G says, that I don't eat now as not my food. I think I heard that on Chef AJ in the chat. It's really helped me. And I use that term too. That's not my food. And I really did in the beginning when I was trying to, do everything in my power to heal. And so, yeah, I'm glad that helped you. It helped me too. It is a really good way to look at things. She also says, oh, this is a good point. I do nuts for my dressing in moderation. Okay. And then Gina says, macrobiotics. Oh, is that right?
Yes.
Believes nightshades are unhealthy as an example. Okay. So can you expand on that? Macrobiotics believes nightshades are unhealthy as an example. I guess I'm not clear on macrobiotics. Will you teach me? So while she may be doing that, so maybe there is a place for the word moderation and its content, like nuts in moderation.
Yeah, I think it becomes contextual, right? In what is the framework or the framing that you're talking about, right? Moderation in nuts, right? You can go all in on nuts, but you probably don't want to eat just nuts, right? Or all in on.
Yes. And that's why this is so interesting, because all in could be looked at as, I didn't look at it like that. Like when I think all in, I think all in whole food, plant-based, SOFA's-free, gluten-free. You just used it in a way that might make somebody not be successful on their path by saying all in on nuts. All in on nuts would mean bags of nuts and whatever, right?
Mm-hmm.
So that was my light bulb moment for a minute.
I'll have to edit in a light bulb for later.
No. But yeah, so so that's why I think that it's an important discussion to have, not to necessarily have an answer, not to, give my opinion, but just to kind of bring it to surface and talk about the hidden messages of what these definitions of these words and mean to us, going back to old times. When I say old times, like, through our years, and also what they might mean now, and just be aware of how it influences a person. And will it make a difference? Does it matter? I don't know. I just like to continue to be aware of as much as I can, because for me, I think everything does make a difference, or have an influence, I should say. Right? Aren't we influenced by everything? Or can we be?
Yes. I think everything, whether it's intentional or not, is influential, right? I mean, we take in information from a variety of sources, and how we process and use that information to make decisions, right?
Yeah. So We have about 8 minutes left. I'm just going to look this over and see if there's anything else that I didn't remember to bring up. I guess I would like to just go back for a moment to what we spoke about if
Gina responded to you.
Oh, and Gina responded. And then I'll touch base on this. Okay. Macrobiotics is, I want to make sure that I'm reading the right one. Yeah, is a way of eating that some people believe helps us heal. Okay. It's vegan and more. I don't know a lot of details. Oh, okay. Well, I really wasn't familiar with that. So thank you for sharing with that. And so that's going back to that way of eating they believe that nightshades are unhealthy. Okay, so maybe that might be what my girlfriend had heard, that style of eating. And I just thought that, that it shouldn't be a blanket statement. And that's why I kind of questioned her, who shouldn't have that? And then I would want to preface it as to why, but I got kind of a deer in the headlight thing because, maybe she thought it was a blanket statement and applies to everything should apply to everyone. And you know what? I think I used to believe that because if somebody was working on something like maybe they were working on microbiome and they were eating all these things. And so maybe that influenced me and I thought I should be working on mine. But really, I should be looking at what I need to work on. So maybe what I should have been looking at would be how to heal my thyroid because I wasn't really having a problem with microbiome and I was having a problem or still am with thyroid. And this is just an example of, right? So my point is it shouldn't be a blanket statement for everybody should follow this road. There are lots of roads. We have to decide what's the right one for us.
Yes.
Example, moderation. No.
Well, and as you were saying that, I was thinking, I wonder if if all in and moderation are, there's a relationship between them, and it's just depending on, how high in that conversation you are, right? So, I'm all in on improving my health. Okay, that's a commitment. I'm not moderate, and maybe I am moderately interested in improving my health. So maybe that's moderation also. I don't know. But I'm all in improving my health, and I'm all in on eating healthier as a way to improve my health. But I think as you start to get down that ladder, right? So all in becomes more about moderation, right? So, you don't want to be all in on just nuts, right? Or I can't be all in on just, salads made out of less than tomatoes.
But I think all in, okay, yes, and this is an opinion, right? I think all in is more of all in on a style, on a
right.
on
Which is
a
why I was
way.
saying a higher level, right? I'm all in on improving my health. I'm all in on changing my diet to eat healthier foods that will improve my health.
And that's interesting when you say all in on improving my health as your example. I feel like all in is you want to do this to the best, to like 100%, but improving doesn't mean 100%. It means an improvement, a pivot, right?
Well, because I think health is a journey, not a destination.
Yes, absolutely. I agree with you.
So you're always improving, right? You're never, all right, I'm 105% healthy today.
Well, if that's the road you choose, always improving.
Well, yeah, because I think there's always ways to improve, right?
But people fall off and then they don't.
Yeah, and that's okay. Again, it's not about being perfect. Listen, it's not how many times you fall, it's how many times you get back up.
I really like that.
Good.
I've heard it, and it's nice to hear it again. So let me check the chat. Gina says, I agree. It shouldn't be a blanket statement for everyone. Yeah. It isn't because we're all different. So I'm glad to hear that. And Mona agrees. She said, true. Mona says, I think that's where we fall into the trap of judging others because we feel we should all be doing the same program. Oh, gosh, the judgment thing. Wow, that's a whole nother topic.
Maybe that's our next live. Let's talk about judgment.
No, but it's true because, if we feel like, have you ever done this? You go to the grocery store and you're on your whole food plant-based, eating lifestyle, and you've got all your beautiful greens and your grains and your fruit and all those beans and all that stuff in your basket. And the guy in line behind you or in front of you has like everything that you don't have in your cart. And do you just go about your business? Or do you think to yourself some kind of a judgment thing? Look at them, want to help them. Yeah, it's interesting. Okay. So let's see. Mona says, I'm all in on whole food plant-based, but not at all perfect.
And that's okay.
Yeah, none of us are really. We're human. And I think being human means not perfection. Because even if we are perfect in one area, when we think we're perfect in an area, the stress of it can come out in another place, right? So if you have the perfect job that maybe you were groomed to have, that's not your passion, but you're making all the money you want, you've got the special title and all of those types of things, but you're miserable in it, then your stress level goes up. And when you go home, you fight with your spouse or you eat all the wrong things that are going to give you heart disease and high blood pressure and all of that. So I think that perfection is a word that we shouldn't really use, because of what I just said. So I don't know. You can share if you have any thoughts about that. And Lori G says, Gina agrees with Mona. Lori G says she agrees too. No judgment. We are all different. Yeah, but we do judge. But it's about being aware, right? And making the choice to maybe choose, instead of being judgmental, but to be willing and helpful if they're willing to receive it. And a judgment could be a positive thing too, right? Wow, look at all those wonderful greens they have in their cart. That's awesome, right? Isn't that a judgment? Or does judgment always have to be negative?
It doesn't always have to be negative, I don't think.
Okay. Mona says, I know I judged others when I started this, 3 years ago. I've since stopped. Yeah, that's awesome. And not an easy thing to do, but it's being aware. And what a wonderful thing, because that's actually, I think, a gift to yourself, because then self-talk comes into play. Gina says, I'm all in. Could be that the person believes in it 100% and wants to do it, is committed to whatever it is, the goal versus being able to do it perfectly. So true, Mona says. Gina, judging myself also when I'm not perfect. And Lori, we all are trying to improve. Yeah, and thank you all for sharing that. And it's true. We're just trying to do the best we can with what we have and what we understand, and that's it. And so I just really wanted to bring this topic up. I mean, if you're watching the replay and you have something else you'd like to have me talk about regarding this, or you just want to interact on a comment, please comment below. Yeah, there's no right or wrong about this. It's just the awareness that's what I wanted to share about.
Yeah, I think it's how you apply it and what your intention is when applying either of those terms, all in or moderation. If I'm, using it intending to give myself an out, well, maybe that's good. Maybe that's, whatever. So there it is. What does that
No,
look?
I was going to say, so I was going to ask you to answer that personally, but I also didn't want to ask you to answer that personally because it doesn't really matter, except to you. But, maybe just not answer it, but think about it.
Okay.
And so anyways, let's see. Gina said, thanks for providing the space to talk about all this. Oh, thank you so much for your interest and everybody for joining us. And I do truly appreciate the conversation. And so I guess we're going to wrap up now. And let's see. Oh, Janet said, you two are great. Thank you. I feel the same about all of you. And so I'll just say, don't forget to eat your greens, everyone. Thank you so much for tuning in. This was fun. This was a lot of fun, and it gives me a lot of food for thought. I wish everyone a great day, a great success, and just know we're here for you. We know you're here for us, and we're all in this together. Take care, everyone. Bye-bye. You want to go shut us down?
Yep.
Good discussion, Lori says. Thanks, guys. Thank you so much, everybody. Mwah. Sending love.